wake up in the night to a cold sweat and the fear that perhaps I didn't make the right moves yet. To use a waiver, would it be braver to hold out for more and call this God the savior? The 5-4 line, been on the wrong and the right side. When the stats down, you gotta look to the bright side. And when the stats up, you better not slip. 11 other teams just hoping you will trip up. GFL, the greatest in the world, yes. Number one pick, you got the world at your doorstep. Taking better trading, gonna be met with a protest. The profesh poised with the polish of a pro step. Believe the hype. Yeah, fantasy game got me feeling like the spice of life. Give me the spice tonight with Sean Curry and Mike.
Please don't let go, 'cause you know exactly what we found. So please don't let go. I don't need me. You keep me hooked up on
Alright guys, we're back. Whoa, what's going off in here? Sirens and everything, man. We're in the war room and we're in the playoffs.
Nothing's changed standing wise from last week. It all finished the way
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, only so many fairy tale finishes for so many teams. Not everyone can make it into the final dance. I'm going to go straight into an outlook of the playoff matchups for this week. And we've got the Architect Joel has a bye.
Well deserved bye.
Yeah, and Jeremy Nelson has a bye as well. So two byes there. So the two matchups that are playing are myself and Willow and Nick and Toby. So we'll be looking into them more detail throughout the week, throughout the podcast.
Week. It's going to be a
But,
week-long spice.
Yeah, they've just started today. They're currently
Underway.
And that'll be really interesting what happens with those. What we're going to continue to do is, and we're actually going to dive straight into the review of Ben's season.
So we're doing that now?
Yep. We're going to have a look at his side and how he went for the year. Also load up the standings with his schedule. Go through his matchups. So how do you see Ben's? You can have a bit of a review, Michael. How do you see his year?
It's a bit of a weird one considering where he was last season. He drafted a hell of a lot differently than he did the previous year.
Yeah.
And I think that may have cost him.
Who was his number one pick?
His number one pick was...
Put you on the spot real early. I mean, I think he took Drummond second, maybe.
Drummond second, so that was his first pick.
Not too sure. So,
Show me to load up the draft.
Yeah, maybe better load up the draft. So, Ben, where did he finish last year?
On the standings before playoffs.
Yeah.
Did he finish second or third, maybe?
Yeah, so he played playoffs with a high standing. Had a pretty good year last year, and this year finished second bottom. So it hasn't been the best year for Dan. Team.
We've got Ben took Al Jefferson.
So Al Jefferson and Drummond, so a nice big man combo to start your season off.
Yeah.
In the third round, he's gone with
Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, so Ricky Rubio's had a pretty bad season for Dan. Injury-prone player.
For Ben, you mean?
For Ben, sorry. Injury-prone player that missed, 10 weeks.
He didn't really produce, like when he was on the court, he didn't really produce other than maybe a couple of weeks after.
Yep.
After he came back from injury, he actually played some good ball. But when you're third round and you're sitting him,
yeah, it just didn't work out. DeRozan was
I liked
DeRozan
at pick 4 for Ben.
Rondo, another guard that's had a terrible season.
Yeah.
Just hasn't worked. Robin Lopez has been an efficient pick that also missed a lot of time, an injury player for him. Alfred Payton's probably been... If you said who's your best point guard and you had Rubio, Rondo at the start of the season, and to say that Alfred Payton's probably been his best point guard for the year. So that's not... trying to go that kind of like that small point guard hybrid type with the bigs just blew up when Rondo and Rubio couldn't work for him for the year.
I like his next two picks though.
So Giannis and Dieng was a really good pick.
Yeah.
And Giannis has been serviceable. Alex Burks would have been a good pick if he hadn't have got injured.
Yeah.
Stuckey.
Stuckey, interesting one.
Once you
At
get
pick
down
11.
Yeah, the last 4 doesn't really matter. You can't really lose out too much on those. They're kind of like you're going to the show and you're trying to get the best show bag.
Yeah.
So no big deal with Stuckey, McDaniels, who's been there the whole year.
McDaniels
Stephen
was really
Adams and
good. We did have to drop him with the
Bogdanovic.
Houston trade.
Yeah. So look at his schedule and standings, and we'll see how Dan's season.
Ben's season.
Sorry, I keep saying that.
So
You've got one, but go back to the start. No, like go back to the season standings, yeah, and then go to schedule.
and click on
Ben.
Where is he?
So he started. I played Ben first off 6-3. I defeated him, and then Ben beat Josh. So he's gone loss win to start the season 2-2. But unfortunately, he had 2 considerably big losses in his first 2 losses. He lost
3-6 and a 2-7.
Yeah, so Joel smashed him, got the better of him, and then he proceeded with a 3-week losing streak. And
week 6 and 7 weren't too bad. Like didn't blow out with the matchups.
Well, he's actually had. This is quite a bad stat, Dan. He's had 1 win. He's gone after he's gone 2-2. He started the season 2-2, and then he's gone 1 win in the next 13 weeks. So that's your season gone right there.
Yeah.
Wow. So he's gone on a 12-week losing streak. No, or 9-week losing streak.
And he did try to shake things up.
He did try to shake things up, but I think he could never get ahead with such a poor draft.
Yeah.
He just had no value or no assets, and probably, everyone rated Rondo early in the season, but Rondo just didn't have any value when he actually performed.
And Drummond didn't play up to top second round pick.
Not to his pick, no. So a bit unlucky in some areas, but just didn't have the depth to cover. Got a win against yourself, actually, which was one of his, that would have been a low point for yourself, Michael.
Well, not really, considering
that's
that.
Ben's only win since week 8.
Yeah.
It's a bad season.
Yeah, it's a long time between games.
Jesus, God, that's not good. Yeah.
I suppose I can't talk, but we'll go through mine at a later
So
date.
let's give him some grades.
All right. So his draft, I would probably say a D-.
I'll give him a D. I think he's a bit unlucky, so I'll give him a D. But I think we're both. I'll definitely give him a D.
D, yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't work. The strategy. He had a strategy in place, but Rubio and Rondo are just probably operating on borrowed time. Rubio really hasn't. When he puts it together, he's good, but now they put the injury-prone tag on him as well.
Yeah.
I know you can't account for it, but the guy just can't stay on the park. And Rondo doesn't have the arsenal of players that help develop him around him anymore. Dirk's not a young Garnett.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
So D. So trading wise, I thought he was.
Well, the trades he made didn't hurt him.
No, I think the trade he made with you was a really good trade.
Yeah. Lawson and Gortat for Al Jefferson and DeRozan, who was injured for another 4 weeks at the time.
That's the main trade that comes to my mind, and he made several others.
Yeah.
I don't think his trading was bad, but I thought there was almost a period where you needed almost what you'd call emergency trading.
Yeah.
I think there was a time like when you've lost 6 games in a row, that's not good. And I'm not sure at what week he did trade Al Jefferson and that, but I thought there was times where I think Rondo or Rubio should have been moved much earlier.
Yeah.
They haven't been moved at all, but they should have been moved. The strategy wasn't going to work.
Now, not to say that he didn't try to move them.
No.
Because they would have been hard pieces to move.
It would have been hard pieces to move because you would have a value for them and they were just nowhere near that value this year.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to find something in the middle, and there's only probably a couple of there's probably only your top best traders you'd be able to get that deal done with.
Yeah.
So next, I'd give him a C plus.
For his trading?
Yeah, I'll give him a C
I'll give him a
plus.
C.
I thought he was reasonably good with his trading, but didn't make enough at the right times.
Well, waivers.
Waivers.
I thought he was fairly good at times, picking up the right players at the right time.
Yeah, I'll give him a B.
Yeah.
I reckon he was in the top tier. I mean, he made go back to the standings. He made I think around that. I think we're talking about the average. He wanted around 65, 70 yards for the year.
He made 31.
Oh, so he didn't make that many. Well, I'll still give him a B because I thought he made some quality ones. He got Deng.
Yeah.
He picked up several other players. I mean, he had Stephen Adams. Was that him for
He drafted Stephen Adams.
yeah, for a little bit. There was a few players I remember him picking up
At the time that we can't think of
Yeah.
now.
But 31 moves just shows you probably need to be even more active on that.
But like you said last week, if you're not making around, like, say, plus 50, you're probably holding a couple of players that you probably should have moved on.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Josh last week, I completely forgot. David West was another one that was injured for about 4 weeks. David Lee.
Yeah.
So, like, you hold these people and they can cost you.
So Ben, he only made 31. So I'll give him a B on the quality of his ads.
Yeah.
But he definitely probably held Rondo and Rubio too long without trading them. He should have done probably, in hindsight, a 2 for 1, where he could have got, 2 players of quality status off the waiver in a trade. Obviously, that doesn't affect that grade, but I just think that move-wise, he had players there that he either had to trade or use the waiver wire more often. Not as bad as Josh's, not to Josh's extent, but definitely.
I also think the way his team was structured and the fact that he wasn't getting his guard stats, he was very limited of the cats he could win.
Yeah.
Because did Drummond really shoot over 50% for the whole season?
I'm not sure for the whole season,
At
but
the
not
very
before the
at the
All-Star
very
break.
start, like he was having 33% games as well as his bad foul shots.
Yeah, and
So
not
he
getting
wasn't-
you 8 blocks. He was getting you maybe two or threes.
Yeah.
But he came on a bit. He came on a bit during the season. But I mean, when you've got Rondo or Rubio or both missing games, and you've got Drummond out of form for the first 10 weeks, you've got nothing.
Yeah.
And then Al Jefferson got injured, but he made a good trade. So we'll move on from that one, and we're going to go have a look at Downing's team.
So
you'll go through the draft results.
Get rid of Ben's.
We'll go through, yeah. So Downing's finished third bottom,
Where is his thing?
and I'm not sure where Downing finished last year. Nick would have the stat, but it's been a bit of a.
I like his first 4 picks. I really like his first 4 picks.
The funny thing is when we go to the schedule is when I played Downing, I think around 5 or 6, and we'll have a look in a second. I really rated Downing's team early.
So did I.
early
I
in the
think
year.
in
So-
the post-season spies we did, I think I had Dan as one of my favourites.
So I think he's drafted reasonably well. Looking at his draft,
Other than his last 3.
But you can't get marked. I don't think you get marked very harshly on your last 3.
No.
So I don't think you.
Oh, he can struck gold, but his last 3
Yeah.
weren't that good. But you look at most last 3s, and they weren't any good.
I think he's had a good draft. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins, can't go wrong there.
Kyrie Irving, Mike Conley,
Mike Conley.
Rudy Gay probably had one of his best years that he's had.
Yeah, Rudy Gay's been fantastic. I mean, your issue is your 5th and your 6th pick in Fareed, who blew up in the Euro in that tournament that USA played prior to the pre-season. So there was Kenneth Fareed warranted a high pick.
So next season, is Kenneth Fareed on do not draft list? Or wait until the All-Star break, then add him up to the waiver
I think
wire.
he's on the trade forward. I think he's on the absolute buy low list.
Yeah.
And if you're an owner and you have Kenneth Fareed again, why wouldn't you sell? You'd almost have to find something to sell him. Almost.
But when he's averaging like 6 and 6 and nothing else, how can you trade him? Just going, last 2 seasons he's gone crazy after the All-Star break. Like managers aren't going to take what ifs.
Yeah, I think people underestimate how valuable the waiver wire is, and I think the best example I could place would be a similar deal with Nurkic for Gallinari. You're not going to get much for Fareed at that point, but you probably can get an informed waiver player. So if you just
you might be able to ride for 3 or 4 weeks.
So I think it's the amount. Yeah, I think it's like cutting your losses and just trying to get something of service, of value that can help you now.
Yeah.
But I mean, you need to get it right. You don't want to pick away the player that you have to drop the next game as well. So you got to find something that is going to serve you for at least hopefully a period of time. It's useful.
On the surface, before the season started, pick 6 and 7, I would have rated as like really good picks for like really good players for where he picked them.
Yeah,
like
Lance really justified a pick 6 at the time. You have to go off the value that he had coming into the season.
And Jonas,
but Lance is another example, and I've used it a few times. Being in the Miami spotlight in that Miami series, I felt like the Pacers gave up, and Lance was the only guy trying.
Yeah.
I felt like he ended the season on a really high note. He had his contract year as well, so he hasn't played 25% to the potential that he played against Miami. So, a bit unlucky though for Dan. Jonas Valanciunas, 7th. I mean, he's just a big man that just hasn't developed fantasy-wise quickly at all.
Yeah.
I mean, he's all right, but he's not great. So he's, a guy like Robin Lopez is probably doing a lot of what Jonas is doing.
Yeah, exactly. Where would you rate a Follow pick 8? I'm just looking at other people's picks 8 before him.
Follow was really good in the Magic the year before, so I reckon around 8, 9 at the time is about right.
You're just looking at other players you could have got. You could have got Tyson Chandler. You could have got Tony Parker. You could have got...
You probably should have got Tyson Chandler.
Brandon Knight. Can't believe Brandon Knight fell that far.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You could have maybe got Tyson Chandler. I mean, you've got DeMarcus Cousins there, and you've only got
Valanciunas.
Maybe, and then I guess Fareed rebounding and helping him. Thought he did well with Cantor, but I think he dropped Cantor though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll get into the management of things, and obviously
Tobias Harris was a good pick 9.
Yeah, and Reggie Jackson. So
yeah.
I think grade-wise, drafting his draft, I'd probably give it a B+.
Yeah, B+.
I'm reasonably happy with how Dan drafted. So he's just a bit unlucky on a few things, which generally makes your season. You obviously have a good season because you've had a bit of luck, and you have a bad season normally constitutes.
But it also can come down to also games played of a week and who you're playing in that week. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though he's drafted a relatively good side, if his first 4 weeks are against really other top sides that have drafted well, it doesn't matter how well you've drafted. If someone's drafted better than you and are better at you than more cats, then you're not going to win.
There's what I would say, like strategy-wise, I mean, he has some good players in there, but I wouldn't say he's elite in assists. I wouldn't say he's elite in rebounds. I wouldn't say he's elite in points.
Or
blocks. So there's nothing really statistically that jumps off and wows the page. Maybe steals.
I would have not gone Kenneth Fareed. I would have gone probably maybe 2 bigs at pick 5th and 6th.
Yeah. So,
and obviously in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing, and I can sit here and say that that's what I'd do. But at the end of the day, like, I probably didn't draft all that well either.
The first 4 picks are critical. He's value-wise, I feel like he's drafted well, and I'm still giving him a B+. But strategy-wise, I mean, to get that extra higher grade, I mean, strategy-wise, you'd ask out of DeMarcus, Kyrie, Mike Conley, and Rudy Gay, what are 6 categories that you're focusing on out of those? And of those 6 categories you're going for, has that been the best combination of 4 to form around those 6? Just as a guideline. So Downing's traits. I don't know. Just go to the main page and load up transactions, go to trades, and then go to team. I'm not sure what trades Dan's made, so I'm just going to have a look. Go to view all. Just one moment. Yeah, so we gave.
Oh, here we go.
What did you give Dan for his draft?
I said B plus as well as
yeah.
you, yeah. So
Let's go
hang
to
on,
Dan.
where is the
Dan
old
Austin.
Dan?
Yeah. And then go to trades.
We should have brought that up for Ben's. I didn't know we could do this.
Okay, is that right?
So where's
Is that
where?
right? No, you have to go click Dan's team again.
I did though.
No, because you switched the tab. Alright, so bring it all the way down to the start. Is that the start?
Yeah.
Alright, so didn't go over Ben's trades in depth. Knew a little bit more of. I knew the Al Jefferson one as the main one, and I kind of had thought Ben did reasonably well with his trades, monitoring them during the year. I don't know much about Dan, so he's made 2. Is that 2 vetoed?
2 vetoed.
So he's made 2 trades, and he's also had 2 vetoed. So that's a really bad strike rate.
I'll go over the vetoes later, but we'll talk about.
So the first trade was made to Joel, and Daniel traded Markeith Morris and Paul Pierce for Chase Budinger and Mike Conley to Joel. So
it was the other way around.
yeah.
Dan got Mike Conley.
Dan got Mike Conley.
Hang on, did he? Yes, because Joel had Markeith Morris for most of the start of the season.
Hang on,
So
Dan drafted Mike Conley. Dan drafted Mike Conley.
Oh, he did too, didn't
Yeah. So Mike Conley, Markeith Morris and Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce was playing alright earlier in the year. What's his season stats? In hindsight.
he? He's ranked 78th.
He's lost the trade. I mean, Paul Pierce had a little bit of upside at the time. I mean, trying to get that 2-for-1 a bit, I guess, because Chase Budinger was a waiver player, so he's trying to get, you got to kind of look at the 2 players in its entirety. But I'm pretty sure, has Markeith Morris been on the waiver wire at all?
No.
Or is that the one that's been a starter?
That's the one. That's the good Morris.
Oh, yeah, it's not too bad a trade then. Yeah, so I get the Morris twins mixed up. I actually, don't touch them because I don't even know the difference between them, so stat wise. But no, it's not too bad a trade. He got a little bit of depth there.
Yeah.
Initially, I thought Mike Conley the higher piece, but looking at that, Morris has been pretty good. So he's done all right there.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
It's not too bad at all. Yeah, it's a fair trade. But again, taking away Conley kind of makes Irving a little bit more useless when he wasn't assisting as much early in the year. So there might have been some warrant to that trade being made. Next trade he made was Joe Johnson and Lou Williams.
I don't know if you give up to Tobias Harris for those 2. I know Joe Johnson was playing well.
So this trade was made 2 months later on February 23. So the first trade was made in December. So quite a big gap, and this was Dan's last hurrah and last trade. So
I just would have thought that you could find Lou Williams value off. I know at that time he was.
Lou Williams was playing
at that
pretty good.
time he was peaking. DeRozan was out. So
2-for-1 again.
They sort of looked at your Jared Jack thing with Deron Williams coming back. So do you know what I mean?
I think the problem here is. I don't know the strategy, but there's 2-for-1 trades where Dan gets 2 players for 1 player of the higher value. To me, with the amount of waiver ads he's made, which is under quite low, second or third lowest in the league, I feel like you could have just used the waiver wire to find, a white
29.
Yeah, find a white side, pair it with your Gobert, which was a fantastic ad of the small waiver moves it made, and away you go. But and then having 2 veto trades. So
do we discuss them or do we just leave them be?
Probably leave them be. In both trades to Nick, both trades multiple players 3-for-1 there, where Dan's giving, one player for 3, and then there's a 4-for-4. So, I mean, Dan technically should have had too much depth to take on DeMarcus at the first one, to trade DeMarcus for 3 players. He's done 2 trades where he brings in
players. So who is he getting rid of in those deals?
Yeah. So we'll leave that.
Yeah.
I reckon trading wise,
We could probably talk about it for half an hour if we go into them. So we might just leave them be.
probably a D plus. I reckon. I mean, he didn't get. It wasn't. Yeah. It just didn't do much to trades as far as you're cashing out a few players for multiple players that I feel like you could have compensated off the waiver wire if you just. I mean, you found a Go-Bird. If you pair that with a Whiteside, find a Whiteside, or find an Alex Len, or
Could you imagine if you were like you actually did that? You added those bigs at the same time, and they were on your roster for the whole season.
I mean, yeah, you wouldn't need 2-for-1. Like you wouldn't need to trade out one player for 2.
Your rebounds and your blocks and possibly your field goals would be set.
Yeah. So what are you giving him?
For trades, I'd probably give him a D plus.
Yeah,
I would give him a C, but I don't like his 2 vetoes.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that sort of brings his grade down a little bit.
Definitely, it brings your grade down. It brings your grade down in this case because one was made February 11th, one was made March 3rd. I mean, on February 3rd, he traded Tobias for 1 player and received 2.
Yeah.
And then 8 days later...
You got to also look at one of the comments that was made by Dan, that he said that he just wanted to make it more than a 1-horse race.
I'm not going to get into that, but I'm more into the stats. On February 3, he traded 1 player away from his side, Tobias Harris, for 2 players. 8 days later, he's trading 1 player, DeMarcus, for 3 players. So that's 5 players coming in, 2 players going out. That's 3 players extra. He would have had to drop 3 players.
Thinking of his roster, who would he have dropped in those trades?
You'd have to look into it, but strategy wise,
Canton, Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson wasn't at.
Yeah, they're all playing.
Reggie Jackson wasn't at Detroit then,
but you're not gaining. You're losing a lot of value by dropping potential players. So last one. Draft. We'll go through his schedule.
Waivers. Didn't talk about waivers.
Yeah, we'll go to the standings. Can't see from here. So we made. So.
Do you want to talk about his rundown? We haven't done that yet.
Yeah, his rundown was he lost to Nelson 7-2 to start the season, and then he had 3 wins in a row, and he beat me in week 3. I think Irving had 11 threes in one game that game, and had about. Heaps that week.
The 2-7, 3-6, 3-6.
First month, I put him in the top. He would have been in the top 4.
Yeah,
and he did have a very good side. I think what's going to get him here is
when he ends up having 6 straight losses.
6. He follows up his 3-1 start with 6 straight losses, and I mean he played Joel, he played Luke, he played Gavin, he played Ben's a winnable game, he played yourself at the time was running hot. Toby was good, so he had a bit of a tough run there at the time, but 6 in a row, and then he beats Willow, and then he follows that up with another 5 losses. So
he also didn't make very many ads, and in the matchups where he only lost 4 or 5 because there was 1, 2, 3 in a space of like 5 weeks. Do you think if he had have made
100%? Yeah. I mean, I remember early when he played me, he could have really beat me pretty bad if he just dropped Marcus Smart and added anybody and had an extra player. I mean, he's lost.
We're going into this.
I'm just looking at one particular match. Just pull up one. He played Toby, I think in like week 10 or something. Lost to Toby 5-4, and he. In this situation, he's lost points and free throw. He's lost points by 35.
Yeah.
Okay. And in that week, I mean, he's had a.
Stevenson's was dead.
Jackson gave him a real bad week. He had Go-Bird that week. Yeah, in that week, I think he had Randy Foy.
Yeah.
Injured. Did he have? No, that's new. Yeah, so there's Anthony Morrow. So, yeah, I just would have probably rotated the waiver more so. Lance Stevenson was obviously being held at the time, which was unfortunate. Waiver wise, probably I'll give him
A D.
a D. I'll give you a D plus because of Gobert.
Yeah.
Just not enough moves from another low team. I mean, it was just a bit too much of a trend this year where the lower teams just didn't use the waiver wire enough. Content to believe that the pick that they drafted was going to contain the value.
Also, it's got a lot to do with lifestyle as well. Like if you're working and you can't check at certain times, other managers that are on the ball are making ads, and you go to look at them maybe 4 hours later, and they're already snapped up. So.
I don't want to lay out the red carpet for everyone, but probably the best time to add someone's in the morning when you wake up.
Oh, don't I know it?
So that's probably the best time. So when you wake up,
or when you're coming back from night shift.
Yeah, that's still probably the best time. and then you're looking at your nighttime 7 p.m. slot, which
if people having dinner
I'm normally working,
or got shit to do.
But I mean,
how many times was I at the gym at late at night before I started night shift, and you saw me on the treadmill with my phone in hand making an ad at 7?
Yeah, so I mean that's probably where you go. We've really dawdled. We're going half an hour on those two teams.
That's all right.
But I mean,
it's the spice.
It's still giving you
the spice of life.
Still giving you a reason to be interested in the show, talking about the team's season review.
Do we leave it there with that? And go on to the playoffs matchups.
Yeah, we're going 15 minutes each on them.
Or do we go into the top 10 of the week?
Go into playoff matchups.
We didn't really want to discuss last week's matchups because the standings didn't change, and we'd just be wasting, a good 40 minutes talking about them. So,
all right. So, going into the playoffs, we're into the business end. So, everyone's tuned in. It's kind of like bloody 60 minutes. Everyone's tuned into the main story, Michael, and we've delayed them 30 minutes before we discuss the playoffs. So they're going to be a bit. Where the fuck is the matchups?
They may have just listened to the playoffs.
For God's sakes, get the matchup screen on.
Oh, so we're not even going to go...
Not yet. No. Let's go over the matchups. So.
Shit, I think I accidentally closed it down.
Yeah. So the first matchup we'll go through, because the top of the screen is myself and Willow.
4th and 5th?
Yeah, so maybe load up that screen as well. Obviously, we've noted that Joel and Nelson have the bye. The winner of this matchup played Joel. I labelled it the group of death because Willow's...
it's a tough draw, mate.
Because Willow's basically the hottest team going around as far as win-loss ratio.
It's like coming up against Hawthorn in a prelim.
Yeah, and then you got Joel next week if you scramble through this one. Yeah. So I think this is going to be interesting. I think Willow's set himself for this. He's had a really good season. A great example. I think both of us are a great example of slow starts and fantastic finishes.
Yeah.
So just goes to show it's not just your draft. It's not just where you are after 4 weeks. Don't settle. Don't be content. Gamble like I've gambled. Willow's gambled to an extent. Willow's made his trades to get him where he wants to be.
Did he hold Kevin Martin for a big chunk?
I mean, he's made moves. He's made several moves. So we're both the teams that have come from the bottom rung, 10th,
and
9th.
And when we're talking about trades, I think I was pretty crucial on Willow, trading away I think 5 starters in 2 trades. But look where he is.
Yeah, he's done really well. So. I mean, this is going to be close, Michael. This one.
Well, looking at the stats, looking at the players, I think you'd probably have him...
It's going to be close.
I think you'd probably just have him in guard stats.
Yep.
Is LeBron injured?
Yeah, he's playing today. Yeah, he tweaked his knee. He's obviously not playing very well.
Stats. I reckon he's got your big man stats and you got him on guard stats. So it's just a matter of if you can pinch your cat either way.
Yeah. He's made 2 ads early. I made 1 ad last night. So I think he brought in Rodney Hood and Jameer Nelson, who's going to have a big game today.
Andrew Bogut and Duncan on the same team. That might hurt you. That might hurt you at some stage.
Yeah. There's obviously a bit of luck. I mean, this is week to week now, so missed games and that.
He's gonna
play a
hurt,
factor. I mean, LeBron tweaked his knee last game, and he's all right. He's playing today, but I mean, he could be rested as well. It could be, just like that. So,
Have you had a view on both of this matchup?
yeah, I already
Can you
had
talk
it last
about?
week.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Did you do it right last week?
yeah. But Al Jefferson was missing. Not
Oh,
sure
that's
if
right.
Al Jefferson's playing today.
Oh, okay. 10-10-1. Oh, that's mini Drummond Green on the 12th against Sacramento.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So, the winner of this one will play Joel. So, Joel gets the week off. He buys himself some time. But we had a lot of trash talk behind the scenes, Michael, that you're not aware of.
Yes.
Me and Joel. All just real competitive at the moment. But, I mean, the clock's ticking on Durant. So, I feel, Joel's put his eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to Durant.
I would say I would be going if LeBron James can actually get you the big man stats you need, and
He hasn't started well at halftime.
No, and it's only half time.
Yeah.
But if he can get you the big man stats to put you over the line, I think you might get him.
It'll be close. It'll be a close encounter.
I think Parsons might need to shoot the lights out from 3 feet.
Parsons been good the last week.
Yeah.
So we're going to the second matchup, and the winner of this will face Nelson, who's almost penciled himself into the grand final, I reckon.
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you ask him, he's already won the grand final.
if Toby wins this, I mean, this would be massive against Nick. So,
Well, Nick lost his streak, didn't he? Last week, he lost 4-5.
yeah.
His
So
streak was over, or his stake, as I accidentally typed.
it's going to be real close, this one as well. I still think with Whiteside and Russell Westbrook, surely Nick can get
Do you think
this.
Nick has got a shrine of Russell Westbrook in his home, and he just beats off?
Westbrook's been absolutely amazing. It's like, Toby, you can have the turnover category, and I'll have Russell Westbrook.
Okay, now
But what's going to hurt Toby? Toby's doing all right. He's hanging in there, but he's
it didn't look good for him. Like, it didn't look good for Toby even making the playoffs at one
he's
stage.
made
When Derrick Rose went down, LaMarcus Aldridge was going to be shut down, and all of a sudden, miraculously came back. Kevin Love had back spasms. So for him to even make the playoffs, that's huge. Considering,
I didn't think he'd
a
make
few
it.
weeks ago, I had him penciled in as out.
I didn't think he'd make it. Having said that, I don't know where he would have been, whether that be 9th or 10th, which would put him close.
Yeah.
I just thought he wouldn't make it. But I mean, he scraped in and made
7-2
it.
against me helps when I've only got 3 players and 10 of them are waivers.
Yeah. We'll get to that probably next week. The biggest, self-combusting explosion Richmond side. Did you finish 9th?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I think I said 10 weeks ago you're the Richmond of this league.
I only lost 4-5 against Dan, so I would have had to lost 7-2 to finish 10th.
Yeah. So Kevin Love missing today's game hurts Toby.
Yeah.
But it's not the be-all, end-all for Toby.
Is Tyreek Evans injured? Because I remember reading something.
He rolled his ankle.
Oh, he played yesterday, though, and had a...
Oh, he had a fucking triple-double.
Other than his foul shots, he went crazy.
Shit. Yeah.
Is
So,
that 9? Yeah, he nearly triple-double with 2 blocks.
not much to report. The matchups have just started today. So,
How do you see this?
I think surely Nick gets through. Surely after the form that he's been in. But, I mean, Toby's really going to make an assault on the big man stats.
Yeah.
And he has some snipers. Avery Bradley's started really hot. 4 threes already in 3/4 time.
And 2 steals.
Rodney Stuckey's having a big game. So, I mean, Toby could just have all his players booming at the right time.
And Evan Turner's not doing too bad, and even if he stuffs up his foul shots, I reckon Nick's got it in the bag with all of his guards.
You reckon?
So, Nick's going to shoot close to 90% every week with all of his guards.
Yeah.
And Whiteside doesn't hurt it.
Only thing there would be Jimmy Butler and whether he needs that extra slot to get past Toby,
Toby.
but I think you can
But
wait.
then you make the move if you need to later in the week.
Yeah, you probably hold and wait and just see how the matchups go.
Olenek, third quarter, maybe he needs to move him on early.
I don't rate that guy. I don't rate him. Nick loves him. I know you love him because you've held him 22 weeks. So, I mean, yeah, I don't want to tell you what to do, but fucking shit. Yeah. No, I don't like Kelly Olynyk. And when Whiteside hit him, I was like, yeah, it's good.
You go, boy.
Yeah, I don't. There's something about him I don't like him. All right.
Because he's white and he's got long hair, maybe.
Yeah, it has a little bit to do with it. No, just I don't know. He's not Dirk, right? So it's like
Just settle.
interesting enough. They're both on the same team, Whiteside and Olynyk. So, all right, we're going to wrap it up, Michael. We're going to go quickly through the top 10 players of the week, and then wind things down.
Do we give an opinion on who's going to win?
Yeah, I think Nick.
Same.
Yeah.
That was pretty easy.
We've gone through the points. Anthony Davis had a massive week and a really unique game to finish the round.
He's nearly triple-doubled with nearly 5 blocks. And nearly 80% foul shots for a big man.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. So, Anthony Davis...
You're potentially getting like 3 players out of him.
4.7 blocks for the week in 3 games. Wow. Kyrie Irving got second. Really good week. Averaged 37 points, 3 games. Hasn't been assisting much this year, but his threes and points and steals are way up. And he shot 63% field goal as well on those 37 points. So he's had a massive week. LeBron James...
My 2 old Ducks, 3rd and 4th, James and Wall.
Got third. 60% field goal, 26 points, 6.7 assists, rebounds, 9.3 assists, 2 steals and a block. He had a really solid week. John Wall's had a really solid
He shot
week.
65% field goal.
Kyle Lowry's had a decent week, returned him to 5th. Leonard for Willow, and he'll need him this week against myself. Leonard is 6th, averaging his 3.7 steals. So, steal specialist on 20 points.
Joel's got 3 guys in the top 10.
Steph Curry, 7th. Draymond Green,
Again.
8th. Again. Gobert, 9th. So Dan's had 2 in the top 10.
I think what Green's so good at is his percentages and his low turnovers and then his spread. Because look, he's hit 4.3 threes. He's 60%, 90%.
It's amazing.
And only 1 point... he's
Draft of the year.
0.7. Yeah.
So just going through, draft of the year. Done.
Done.
I
I think we
suppose.
spoke about that last week.
Yeah,
It's done.
Draft
Done.
pick of the year. And Favours makes 10th. So it's nice for Nelson to have Favours in the top 10 at this time of year. Just before we finish, we're going to go over potential waiver of the year. Alright? So during Facebook, can everyone just put in their 2 cents about who they think should be waiver of the year? My nomination and probably Roto World's nomination and the World's nomination is none other than Whiteside. While his rank, Yahoo rank and all that hoo-ha isn't going to be fantastic, he averaged 2.7 blocks for the year on almost a double-double, 11 points, 10 rebounds, half a steal on 62% field goal with the typical big man free throw deficiency. I just think getting that kind of player off the waiver wire was similar, if not better, than when Gavin got Larry Sanders the other year, and I think that was waiver of the year year. So,
When Larry was getting 8 and 8 and,
I think
and 3 blocks or something.
the fact that Whiteside had probably played over 10 games as a non-starter, some of those games in very low minutes.
And didn't Whiteside play and then get put to the D League and then get brought back up?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in those games,
There's a lot of
he
games.
had like 5 minutes where
Yeah.
he wasn't getting much stats.
So he's been better than those stats that he's shown. I mean, his starter stats would be better, but I think he almost triple-doubled blocks off the bench as well.
Let's look at this.
Good.
I did.
Yeah, so he's 13 points, 13 rebounds, 2.5 blocks, 60% field goal in the last
30 days.
So he's been better.
Our other candidate,
Yeah, I put Covington second. For some, made potential waiver of the year. I mean, he's 39% field goal.
Joel's had him all season long.
Joel's done.
Does that factor into the waiver of the...
No, I think Joel's had him for a similar time that Nick's had Whiteside. I think
No,
Nick's
he
had
had Covington, I think,
I
was
remember-
like maybe 3 rounds before Whiteside.
weeks.
Weeks, yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, it definitely would factor somewhat, but I don't think it's going to factor enough to. I mean, literally, what I'm seeing there is a really good Paul Pierce.
Old school.
Fantasy stat wise. Low field goal, very high free throw, 2.4 threes, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 1.5 steals, half a block, 1.8 turnovers. So I'm seeing a reasonably good Paul Pierce stat wise.
And his last 30 days haven't been fantastic. They've been holding.
Oh, that's for his 30 days. What's his season?
Oh no, we already spoke
Oh,
about
it
it,
looks
and then I just changed it
looks
over.
really similar. I mean, just a little bit down. So I don't think that covers Whiteside anywhere near. But I think
If anyone else has got some potentials,
Whiteside's up here, Covington's here, and then I can't even see the rest. I mean, Gobert third, maybe Gobert. You know, Gobert's been pretty good. Gorbert or however you say his name. Gobby. Yes, he's a poor man's. He's been fucking good, but just nowhere near Whiteside. His
14 days have been par.
days. Yeah.
They've been par with rank 15.
I mean, they've technically been better in the last 14 days, a little bit. So that's going to wrap us up. So if you've got any other mentions, I mean,
feel free, because we'll discuss it on next week's show.
but I think those three are the top three in the running. All done, guys. We'll have a bit more of a better matchup review next week when we've got the stats to go by and who we're playing. Good luck to everyone. Enjoy the finals.